Like Taiwan, Australia has a rich indigenous culture, with indigenous groups representing around 3% of the country's population. The Australian Trade Office has helped curate a special exhibition on Australia's historic caning stock route at the National Taiwan Museum. FTV spoke with the Australian representative to Taipei, Catherine Raper, to learn more.
Blue skies and red sands dominate this stretch of desert where the caning stock route lies. Temperatures can soar to 40 degrees Celsius or more in the daytime, then plummet as much as 30 degrees lower at night. This is Australia's most historic stock route. People in Taiwan are most familiar with the major cities along Australia's eastern and southeast coasts. These are Australia's major population centres. Much of Western Australia is dry and sparsely populated. The caning stock route is an 1,850-kilometre road that crosses 3 deserts and 9 different Aboriginal language group regions. It is nearly 5 times the length of Taiwan.
It was first conceived in 1906 as a way to bring stock from remote countries, cattle, down the trail and then into Perth in order to get to market. But of course, the Indigenous people have been living there for much longer than that, and it had a great impact on their lives and their communities. So this exhibition is an attempt to tell a little bit about that story.
Breaking from past tradition, this exhibition tells the story of caning stock route from an Indigenous perspective. Aging artists portray Indigenous culture and life in the desert through painting. A 60-year-old local, helicopter Tjungurrayi, describes how severe illness at youth led to a major life experience.
And this represents one of the wells on the caning stock route, and this was a nearby watering source where he was camping with his family. And this helicopter appears and takes him and his mother to the nearby base and then on to hospital for medical treatment. And he adopted the name helicopter because this was his first amazing event that happened in his life.
Helicopters from one of the Aboriginal language group found along the caning stock route. There are 8 others, each with a distinct culture and living environment. 85-year-old Jan Billycan created this picture of a more than 100-kilometre long salt lake found along the caning stock route.
This is like a microcosm of the route. Rather than seeing the track in its entirety, we're seeing just her part of it, which is her home. The Indigenous people call their particular place where they're from their country. They have a very strong connection to country, and they have a very particular definition of what that means.
Australian Aboriginals have lived more than 50,000 years on this land. Originally, there are about 250 Indigenous groups, though only around 100 remain. About 700,000 people, or 3% of Australia's population, identify themselves as Aboriginal.
Unfortunately, Australian Indigenous people, like Taiwan Indigenous people, on the whole suffer more disadvantage, have lower health outcomes, lower educational outcomes, are more likely to be out of work.
The Australian government is seeking to teach others about its Aboriginal culture through a combination of local cultural events and global exhibitions. Yiwarra Kuju, the caning stock route, is currently held at the National Taiwan Museum. The exhibition runs through March 29th. This is Jenny Chang and Justin Wu in Taipei.